Welcome to Nightmare Story. I'm Lucas, your guide through the shadows. Here the night is quiet, but never safe. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and follow me into the places where forgotten footsteps echo and old fears wake beneath the darkness. This is where sleep meets terror. Are you ready? Tonight we drift into the quiet, frost-dusted hills of Greenbrier County, where winter breathes softly against the old wooden homes, and the mountains hold more secrets than they care to explain. You walk slowly down a narrow path, boots sinking into snow that's just deep enough to swallow sound. It's peaceful, too peaceful, and as the cold air brushes your face, you get that tiny pulse of dread in your chest that insists you probably won't survive this. Don't worry, though. Statistically, you probably will. Probably. But for now, the night is yours. The moon hangs low. The wind sighs through bare branches, and somewhere far off, a lone dog barks at nothing, or at something it hopes never comes closer. Before we sink into the haunting, before the story wraps itself around you like a cold hand on the back of your neck, I need to whisper one small thing. If you genuinely enjoy my stories, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Thank you. Now, with that out of the way, let's ease into tonight's journey together. You take another slow breath, watching it curl into the dark. The path bends toward a small farmhouse ahead. Zona Heaster shews home. The snow here glows like powdered silver, untouched except for a set of footprints leading inward. They're crisp, recent, and oddly spaced, like someone walked in a hurry but didn't want anyone to know they were running. You step closer. The farmhouse is quiet, almost relieved to see you, as if it has been holding its breath for decades, waiting for someone willing to listen. Your hand brushes the railing, rough with age, and a faint little sting of cold shoots through your fingers. The wood feels alive, holding memories the way bark holds sap. Inside, the air carries a scent of old fabric, forgotten apples, and something else, something metallic beneath the sweetness. You pause. There's no one here now, but you can almost picture Zona moving through this room. Her gentle steps, her soft humming, the way her hands stayed busy even when her thoughts drifted far beyond these walls. But beneath all that warmth is another presence, a tension sunk deep into the corners like the shadow of someone who never left. You feel it before you understand it, that awareness prickling along your arms. Not hostile, not welcoming, just watching. A floorboard creaks behind you. You turn. No one. Only the low groan of the house settling, the wind pressing lightly against the windows, and a soft whisper of snow sliding from the roof. Still, Zona is here. And she wants something. Something she never got in life. You step deeper into the farmhouse, the door closing behind you with a sigh that sounds almost relieved. Outside, the world is muffled by snowfall. Inside, the story begins folding itself around you, warm at first, then colder, colder still. As you move toward the narrow hallway, the air shifts. A faint shimmer. A breath that isn't yours. A Zona is near. You stand at the edge of the narrow hallway, sensing the stillness settle more heavily around you. The air here feels thicker, like it's made of old breaths and unfinished sentences. The faint scent of winter cloth lingers, a little sharp, a little lonely, and it guides you forward. Your footsteps are soft, careful, almost reverent without meaning to be. The wooden floor flexes faintly under your weight, letting out small murmurs that sound suspiciously like you shouldn't be here, but also like thank you for coming. Old houses tend to be indecisive like that. As you move, you catch a glimpse of the kitchen first, a simple room with a square table, 2 chairs, and a narrow window streaked by frost. Someone used to sit here waiting for the day to warm up, hands curled around a mismatched cup. You imagine Zona in that chair, coat wrapped around her shoulders, watching the world wake slowly behind a silver curtain of cold. You step inside the kitchen a little further and notice something subtle. The warmth in the room feels lighter, almost like an emotional echo. Zona used to fill this place with softness, with a kind of energy that might have made even the coldest morning tolerable. But now you sense an emptiness, a hollow shape where a person used to be. And yet, something else lingers in the space between the table and the window, a tremor of presence, a memory thick enough to breathe. Without warning, the floor creaks behind you again. You turn quickly, your heartbeat jumping just a little too loudly in your chest, and the doorway is still empty. The hall is silent, but this time you feel it unmistakably. Someone is standing just beyond your sight. Not threatening, just observing you, measuring you. The kind of presence that waits to decide if you're friend or intruder. You swallow slowly, letting your breath glide back into rhythm. This isn't the moment to panic, it's the moment to pay attention. Zona isn't the only ghost in this house, not entirely. Houses gather impressions the same way trees gather rings. Every laugh, every argument, every secret pressed against a wall leaves a mark, and this farmhouse has more marks than you can count. You take one step back toward the hall. A faint rush of cold brushes past your right ear, like a woman exhaling a frozen sigh. You turn your head instinctively, and for the flicker of a heartbeat, you see something. A pale shimmer crossing the hallway. Something wearing white. Something moving, as though the air were water. Then it's gone. Your heartbeat steadies into a quickened hush. You're not frightened, not exactly. The presence here isn't hostile. It feels more like someone tugging at your sleeve, urging you forward. So you follow. The hallway leads to Zona's old bedroom, the place where everything ended for her. As you approach the door, the temperature dips. Your breath fogs faintly, curling like ghostly handwriting in front of you. The doorknob is cold. You place your hand on it gently, and the chill runs straight into your palm, as if whispering a story without words. For a moment, you hesitate, not because you're afraid, but because you can sense that whatever waits inside this room has been waiting a very long time. You exhale softly and turn the knob. The door swings open with a sigh, revealing a room frozen in the quiet aftermath of a life cut short. The bed sits near the window, neatly made, but there's a weight in the air, as if someone once struggled here and the memory never left. A dress still hangs from a hook near the closet, pale green and delicate, almost swaying as if stirred by a breeze you cannot feel. Zona's presence thickens here. A cold fingertip trails down your spine, not touching your skin, just tracing the outline of your awareness. It's not meant to scare you, it's meant to guide you. Because you're close now. Close to the truth. Close to the moment where her story snaps into focus. Your steps slow as you move toward the bed. The sunlight that once warmed this room is long gone, replaced by a silver-gray glow that pools through the frosted window. You feel like you're walking into a breath that someone held for 100 winters. A soft whisper curls in your ear, something you can't quite understand, a name maybe, or a plea, but it slips away before you can catch it. Zona wants you to see something, and she's not alone. You linger at the edge of Zona's bedroom, letting the strange, heavy calm sink into your skin. The room is quiet, but not dead quiet. There's a faint pulse to it, something that feels like breath moving through old floorboards. You take another step, and the boards hum under your foot, carrying a subtle vibration, as if they remember every moment that unfolded here. Your eyes drift toward the corner near the wardrobe. The shadows there are a little thicker than the rest of the room, layered, almost textured. Not solid enough to be a figure, but full enough to feel like someone is pressing gently into the world from the other side. You sense Zona there, not quite visible yet, but close. Close in the way a whisper is close, barely brushing your ear. A thin ribbon of cold wind streams across your wrist. There's no open window. You know she's trying to show you something. You step nearer to the wardrobe. The pale green dress hanging from the peg sways again, though the air is still. You reach toward it slowly, as though touching the memory of the woman who once wore it. Your fingertips hover just above the fabric when a sudden tremor, a shudder of cold, passes through the dress, sending a ripple across its surface. It's as if someone, unseen, brushed against it. Someone trying to be noticed. You pull your hand back gently. Not out of fear, but respect. The room feels watchful. You can almost picture Zona standing somewhere behind you, not entirely formed, her presence like the faint outline of a woman in frost on a windowpane. She doesn't step forward yet. She waits. Your gaze shifts to the bed, an unassuming piece of furniture, iron frame, thin mattress, a quilt folded neatly at its edge. But the air around it feels wrong, heavy, saturated with something unresolved. The bed is where they found her, lying still, dressed in her best Sunday clothes, placed there by hands that pretended to be loving but were anything but. You kneel beside it slowly, feeling the floor grow colder the closer you get. A memory flickers across the room. Not yours. Hers. It's faint at first, like a film projected onto fog. The shape of a figure, a tall man, standing near the bed. Broad shoulders, movements too controlled, too calculated. The air around that shadow trembles, as if even the memory carries anger. You blink, and the shadow fades. Zona's presence hums, almost thankful that you saw it. You lay your palm gently on the edge of the mattress. The fabric is cool, far cooler than the air around it. The cold sinks into your skin, spreading through your hand and up your arm. It doesn't hurt. It feels purposeful, like someone sliding their hand into yours, not to frighten you, but to hold on just long enough to let you understand. A soft creak, barely audible, sounds from the top of the stairs beyond the room. Someone once walked up those stairs with a lie already forming on their tongue, rehearsing it, polishing it, turning it into a story the town would swallow whole. You stand and move toward the doorway again, glancing back at the bed. The shadows ripple faintly. Zona is leading you somewhere else. Not downstairs, not outside, but deeper into the house, into the places where truth sank into the wood. You step into the hallway again, but this time the air has changed. It feels thicker, heavier, like walking through memory instead of air. Each step carries a subtle echo that doesn't match your movement. For every footfall you make, another softer one follows half a second behind. Someone is walking with you. You don't turn to look. You don't need to. The presence feels familiar now, gentle, aching, patient. A soft brush grazes your shoulder. Cold, feather-light. A ghost hand guiding you. Zona wants you to see the truth the way she lived it, the way she died with it still burning inside her. And the next room down the hall is where everything begins to tilt. The small parlor, just beyond the kitchen, still holds the faint scent of wood smoke. You cross the threshold and feel the pressure in the air shift again. A tremble moves across the room like someone passed by too quickly for your eyes to catch. The rocking chair near the fireplace creaks ever so slightly. Very slowly. Forward. Back. And then it stops. You inhale softly, steadying your breath as the faint outline of a woman seems to shimmer for an instant near the chair. A silhouette without detail, like a memory caught halfway between forming and fading. It leans, barely, toward the fireplace, as if warming hands that aren't there anymore. Zona isn't appearing to frighten you. She's appearing because she's finally being heard. You take another step, and the air behind you cools sharply. Someone, something, is now standing right at your back. You don't move at first. Not because you're frozen with fear, but because the presence behind you feels intentional, focused, like someone who has waited too long to speak and is afraid you might walk past the truth without hearing it. The cold at your back isn't sharp, it's steady, a quiet, urgent pressure that makes the hairs at your nape lift. You inhale slowly. The room holds its breath with you. Then, behind your ear, so close it almost brushes your skin, comes a sound that's barely a whisper. A soft, trembling exhale. You turn, carefully, gently, and for the briefest flicker of a moment you see her. Zona. Not fully. Not clearly. Just the faint outline of her figure, washed in a pale shimmer like moonlight behind thin ice. Her face is unfinished, blurred, but her posture is unmistakable. Shoulders drawn in not with fear, but with exhaustion. A woman carrying a truth far heavier than her small frame ever deserved. And then she vanishes again, dissolving into the cold that clings to the air. The rocking chair near the fireplace shifts slightly, as though someone rose from it. You step toward the fireplace, careful not to disturb the fragile tension hanging in the room. The embers inside are long dead, but the scent of old smoke seems stronger now, curling through the room like a memory of warmth. Zona must have spent countless quiet evenings here, tending to small comforts while the world outside turned colder and more unforgiving. Something draws your eyes to the mantel. A single framed photograph. You lift it gently. A woman, Zona, sitting with a soft, almost shy smile. Her eyes hold a warmth that doesn't quite match the icy stillness of the life she ended up living. You can tell she wanted simple things: safety, affection, the kind of ordinariness that people rarely appreciate until it's gone. But standing here now, you can sense her spirit coiled around the room like a ribbon of frost, tense and waiting. You lower the photograph and feel the air thicken behind you again, but this time the energy shifts. It feels less like an unseen figure standing there and more like emotion itself filling the space. Fear, heartbreak, and something sharper beneath them. A sudden, brief chill clamps around your throat. Not choking, not harming, reenacting. A memory pressed into your skin. You gasp softly, and just as quickly, the cold around your neck releases. It doesn't hurt. It isn't meant to. Zona is showing you the echoes of what she cannot put into words anymore. Your pulse steadies, slow but firm. You whisper into the empty room, your voice barely above a breath. I'm listening. The air warms by a single degree. Enough to feel like approval. A faint knock echoes from the stairway leading to the upper floor, 3 soft taps evenly spaced, not loud, but they carry weight. Zona wants you to go upstairs. You follow the sound, moving slowly toward the staircase. The wooden steps creak under your weight, but each creak seems to answer an older echo. Steps that once belonged to a man who moved far too quietly after doing something unspeakable. Halfway up the stairs, your hand brushes the railing, and the wood pulses with another memory. A flash. Zona standing on the stairs, clutching the railing as someone towered above her, anger ripping through the air like a blade. You see nothing more but the emotion, fear so sharp it freezes, lingers like frost biting the air around you. You tighten your grip on the railing, feeling the house tremble faintly under your feet, as though remembering too vividly. At the top of the stairs, the hallway stretches before you like a long throat of darkness. There's no lamp, no soft glow, just moonlight pooling faintly through a small window at the far end. You take a single step, and the moment your foot touches the hallway floor, the air shifts violently. A freezing gust rips past you, blowing your hair back and extinguishing even the faint warmth your body carries. A door slams shut at the end of the hall, hard. The sound reverberates through the house like a shot. Zona is calling you to that room. Your heartbeat thuds once, loud and certain, but your steps remain slow and measured. This is no ambush. It's an invitation. You reach the closed door, the wood vibrating with a ghost's desperation. Your fingertips hover above the doorknob. The moment you touch it, everything falls silent. No wind. No creaking. Not even your own breath dares to make a sound. You push the door open. Inside, the room is dim, coated in a thin layer of cold that has settled into every surface. The walls seem to hum faintly, like they're reliving something moment by moment. At the center of the room sits an old trunk, wood worn, metal hinges tarnished, lids slightly open, as if someone rifled through it in anger. You approach it slowly. The closer you get, the colder the air becomes. You kneel. You hook your fingers under the lid. You lift it open. Inside lies a scattering of Zona's belongings: ribbons, a folded shawl, a single worn letter. But beneath them, tucked away like a secret someone tried to bury, is something far more chilling. A bone-white button from a man's shirt. Snapped clean off. Edges sharp. Zona's presence swells suddenly behind you, sad, furious, pleading. She's showing you the proof. The first crack in the lie that suffocated her story for so long. The room trembles softly. And she's not finished. The room tightens around you, the air compressing with a pressure that feels almost sentient. Shadows cling to the corners as if trying to warn you, or guide you, or simply watch what you do next. The broken button rests in your palm like a small, cold truth pulled straight out of the dark. You turn it gently between your fingers. The metal edge is jagged, snapped with force, not wear. You can almost imagine it being torn off during a struggle, hands clawing, fighting, refusing to surrender. The button feels heavier than it should, weighted with memory, grief, and a gasp that once went unheard. Behind you, the floor groans with the weight of a presence. Zona. Her energy spreads through the room like a frost bloom, thin tendrils stretching silently across the floor, winding up the walls, sinking into the air. Not menacing, not dangerous, just painfully determined. You close the trunk softly and rise to your feet, the button still pinched between your fingers. A tremor moves through the house, subtle but persistent, like a heartbeat that doesn't belong to the living. You whisper into the quiet. What else do you want me to see? For a moment, there is nothing. Then the temperature drops again, swift and deep, like the house is pulling you backward through time. The shadows in the room thicken, swirling slowly in the center of the floor. They twist, tighten, and begin forming a faint shape. Not a full apparition, more like an impression burned into the wood. The shape of a figure leaning over the bed, broad shoulders, rigid posture. A man whose presence leaves a trail of cold anger in its wake. You instinctively step back, even though you know the shadow cannot touch you. It isn't real, not physically. It's a memory Zona has etched into the very bones of the house. The figure bends lower, hands reaching. The shadow thickens, the lines of its movements sharp and violent, and even though there's no sound, the room vibrates with the echo of a struggle. Zona's fear surges through the air. Sharp, fractured, desperate. You clutch the button a little tighter. The shadow jerks. A sudden movement. A snap, silent but felt, ripples through the room like a shockwave. Then the figure straightens, posture rigid and cold. The memory freezes there, locked in place for a single second. You see it clearly now. Zona didn't simply collapse. She didn't slip. She didn't faint. Someone ended her life with cruelty and lies. And Zona is begging you to understand that. As the memory dissolves, the air shifts again, this time warmer, not comfortable or safe, but warmer, like the tension has eased just enough for you to breathe freely. Zona's presence hovers behind your shoulder, gentler now, as if relieved that you saw what she's been trying to show for years. You step away from the room and back into the hallway, each footfall sending soft creaks through the old floorboards. The house feels different now. Not haunted exactly, but heavy, like a chest finally opened after years of being locked. At the bottom of the stairs, a thin trail of cold sweeps past you, guiding you back toward the front of the house. You follow, moving slowly, your breath fogging lightly as you pass through the parlor again. The rocking chair gives one small creak, almost like a ghostly nod. Zona lingers near the doorway, not visible, but unmistakably there. Watching, guiding, waiting for you to follow her story beyond these walls. As you step toward the exit, the temperature shifts a final time, rising just enough to feel like a soft hand resting against your shoulder. A silent thank you. You open the door. Cold night air wafts in, crisp against your face, carrying with it the faintest hint of pine and distant smoke. Behind you, the house watches with a kind of exhausted relief. Zona's story isn't finished. You've only seen her beginning. Outside, the snow whispers beneath your boots as you step off the porch and down the narrow path. The moon hangs low, its light painting silver streaks across the frozen landscape. The night feels less empty than before, filled now with the weight of a truth that's been waiting decades to be heard. Zona walks with you. Not haunting, not drifting, simply following, as though leading you towards someone who can finish what she cannot. And you realize, to truly understand the Greenbrier Ghost, you must follow her beyond the house, into the quiet town, where her mother waits, with a truth that will soon shake the living. The cold deepens. Your breath curls into the darkness. Zona's presence brushes your arm, gentle, urging. Her story is just beginning. You step away from the quiet house, its windows shimmering faintly with the weight of everything it finally revealed. The cold presses gently against your face, but something warmer trails just behind you, Zona's presence, soft as frost melting under morning light. She lingers close, urging you forward along the narrow, snow-packed road. The world around you is quiet, so quiet that even your breathing seems to echo across the fields. A lantern flickers on a porch in the distance, small, golden, stubborn against the winter night. Beyond it lies the town, and somewhere in that dim cluster of homes is a mother who heard her daughter long before anyone believed she could. Zona's presence tightens, not in fear, but in hope. She is guiding you to the place where her voice broke through death itself. She is guiding you to the woman who listened. And as the farmhouse fades behind you, as the road bends into darkness, you understand. What happened to Zona wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a haunting that refused to be silenced. And you're walking straight into the next chapter. The road into town stretches ahead of you like a narrow ribbon of moonlit frost, winding quietly through the winter-dark fields. With each step, the snow sighs beneath your boots, soft and deliberate, as though the earth itself is trying not to disturb the presence walking beside you. Zona's energy presses gently against your right shoulder, faint, cool, and unmistakably determined. You don't see her, but you feel her. The way the temperature dips, just slightly wherever she hovers. The way the night seems to lean inward, listening. The way your breath fogs in oddly shaped curls, as if folding around an unseen figure. She wants you to follow. She wants you to understand. The farmhouse behind you shrinks into the night, swallowed by the gentle glow of snowfall. Ahead, the first warm glimmer of town lanterns appears like yellow stars clinging stubbornly to the darkness. You can almost hear the distant murmur of voices, late-night conversations drifting through thin-paneled walls, the low clatter of someone closing up shop, the faint squeak of a rocking chair on an old porch. Greenbrier live in small sounds. Soft sounds. Sounds that sometimes hide louder truths. As you near the edge of town, the wind dips, brushing cold fingers across your cheek. Zona's presence tightens beside you, a little closer, a little heavier. She's guiding you not toward the lights, but toward a small cabin tucked off the main road. Smoke curls from its chimney, thin, gray, steady, a sign that someone inside is awake. Her mother. You feel a subtle shift in the air, anticipation mixed with something deeper, older. The cabin stands quiet but firm, its porch dusted with snow, its windows glowing faintly with the tired warmth of a late-night fire. You step toward it, and the boards beneath the porch groan softly under your weight. Zona's presence stops at the door. She will not enter. She wants you to go in. You breathe slowly, letting the warmth leaking through the cracks wrap around your fingers for a moment before you knock. 3 soft taps. A pause. Then the sound of footsteps, slow, steady, heavy, with the weight of sleepless nights. The door opens, revealing a woman in her old shawl, hair streaked with winter gray, eyes sharp despite exhaustion. Mary Jane Heaster studies you with quiet suspicion, then with something closer to recognition. Not of your face, but of the cold presence behind you. Her breath catches for half a second. She knows. She has felt her daughter in these shadows before. Come in, she murmurs, stepping aside. You do. Warmth washes over you instantly, firelight flickering across wooden walls, the scent of herbs hanging in the air, and the faint creak of a rocking chair shifting as though someone had just stood up. You glance around, taking in the small space. It's humble, cluttered with quilts, books, and old photographs, all arranged with careful, restless hands. Mary Jane watches you quietly. Then she asks, voice low and trembling with a suspicion she's afraid to confirm. Why have you come here at this hour? The fire crackles softly behind you. Snow taps faintly against the window. Zona's presence thickens at your back. You open your mouth, but she speaks before you can answer. Has my girl led you here? You nod once, slowly. The truth settles between you like a shifting weight on the wooden floor. Her shoulders collapse, not with fear, but with a painful, relieved exhale. She lowers herself into the rocking chair, one hand trembling slightly as she grips its arm. I knew she wasn't done, she whispers. I knew she wouldn't stay quiet. The flames dance across her face, carving deep shadows beneath her eyes. She leans forward, voice dropping to a fragile murmur. Tell me what you saw. You glance toward the door, where Zona's unseen presence pulses gently, encouraging, urging. You take a slow breath and begin. You tell her about the cold pockets in the farmhouse, The dress that swayed without wind. The trunk. The button. The shadow reenacting the truth she was denied. Mary Jane listens without blinking, each word carving relief and grief deeper into her expression. When you finish, she closes her eyes, letting a long silence fill the room. "I saw her too," she finally says. "I heard her voice." She lifts her chin, eyes glimmering with something fierce, unwavering. "My daughter told me exactly what that man did." The fire snaps. The shadows lean closer. Zona's story is about to spill open. Not in whispers, but in words spoken by the only person who ever believed her. Mary Jane inhales, steady and slow. "It happened like this." You push deeper into the dim hallway, feeling the floorboards shift slightly beneath your weight, as if the whole house is inhaling when you step and exhaling when you pause. The cold no longer feels like weather. It feels like presence. It curls around your wrists, brushes the back of your neck like someone testing how close they can get without being seen. You angle your flashlight downward, watching dust float lazily in the beam, slow, drifting, hypnotic. Everything is so still that your own breathing sounds too loud, too alive. And the strangest part, you can't shake the impression that the air itself is leaning in to listen to you breathe. You pass the warped door you saw earlier, the one cracked just wide enough to imply someone slipped through before you came upstairs. You don't look inside yet. You're not ready, not even in this dreamlike, half-awake trek you're making through her story. Instead, you continue down the corridor where the wallpaper has peeled into long, curling strips that sway when your breath passes them, like paper tongues, like whispering. And then you hear it. The faintest shift of fabric. Not footsteps, not creaking fabric. Something like a dress brushing lightly against a wall. You freeze, shoulders tightening, breath caught like it's snagged on your ribs. You wait, the sound stops. Then almost gently it comes again, soft, dragging, definitely there. You turn your head slowly, not wanting to disturb the moment, as if it's something fragile. The peeling wallpaper, the thin door, the yawning darkness of the attic beyond. All of them feel like they're holding their breath with you. The sound stops. You take one step, and the house seems to take one with you. A floorboard pops sharply behind you. Not under your weight. Behind you. You spin, but your flashlight flickers, sputtering like it's reacting to something you can't see. The beam dances in frantic little arcs across the hallway walls before steadying again, unwilling to illuminate whatever moved. Your pulse quickens, but your mind stays curiously calm, lulled by that odd sleepy haze that clings to this entire journey. It's like the fear is wrapped in cotton, soft, quiet, almost comforting in a strange way. You whisper into the empty air, not sure why. Is someone there? For a moment, there's nothing. Then the temperature drops fast enough to sting. Your breath fogs. Not gently. It rolls out in a thick plume like winter air hitting iron. And through that fog, through the chilled stillness, a new scent threads its way to you. Something floral. Something old-fashioned. Something that does not belong in a decaying attic corridor. Lilac. soft and sweet. The exact perfume Mary Jane Heaster was known to wear. It surrounds you with no footsteps, no figure, no warning. A presence without a shape. A memory with breath. You stand in the center of the hallway, the lilac scent swirling around you like a ribbon, and that's when you notice the wallpaper directly beside you, beginning to move. Not from wind, not from your breath. Something beneath it is shifting, slow, deliberate, as though a hand is pushing from inside the wall, fingers dragging lightly down the plaster. The movement stops. The floral scent intensifies. And a single whisper curls through the corridor, soft enough that you're unsure if it's sound or thought. Cold, so cold. Your flashlight dims again, and you feel the hair rise on your arms. Not from fear, but because the cold has sunk deep enough to reach the bone. And yet, you don't run. You don't even step back. You let the moment settle, let the spectral chill wrap around you, let the lilac scent guide your breath into a slow, steady rhythm. Because the deeper you go into this story, the more you realize she's not here to harm you. She's here because you're finally listening. The corridor falls silent again, but the presence doesn't fade. Instead, it lingers at your shoulder like someone waiting, gently urging you to keep walking. And so you do. You'll regret this later, probably. But right now, you're drifting, half curious, half dreaming, fully carried by whatever waits deeper in this house. You move toward the far end of the hallway, guided not by bravery. Let's be honest, you left that downstairs somewhere, but by that soft pull you can't explain. It's as if the air has hands now, shaping itself gently around your shoulders, nudging you along with feather-light insistence. The lilac scent fades with every step, thinning like mist behind you, until all that's left is the dry, papery smell of old wood and colder nights. Your flashlight beam trembles across the walls, revealing spiderwebs layered so thick they look like frost patterns. The house groans again, long, slow, and aching, as though something buried deep in its bones is waking up. You reach a door at the very end. Not the warped door from earlier. This one is different. Thicker, darker, closed with purpose. Like someone didn't want it opened. The knob is iron, freezing, slick with condensation that makes no sense in an attic. You hesitate before touching it because your brain is finally catching up to everything your body's been ignoring. But the pressure at your back grows stronger, not forceful, just insistent. So you inhale, brace yourself, and curl your fingers around the iron. It bites into your skin with cold so pure it feels metallic. You twist gently. The knob gives way with a soft click, almost relieved. The door opens inward with a sigh. Not a creak, a sigh. Like someone exhaling after holding their breath for far too long. Inside, the room is small and sloped, filled with shadows that hover instead of settle. You step through the doorway, and the temperature drops again, the kind of cold that slips under your clothing and settles against your spine. Your flashlight reveals a narrow bed pushed into the corner, the mattress sunken, the blanket collapsed into stiff folds of dust. An old wooden trunk sits at the foot of the bed, its lid slightly ajar. What stops you, though, is the rocking chair. It sits near the single window, facing the wall instead of the view. Odd, unsettling, because chairs don't just choose to face corners. And then it moves. Just once. Just enough to let you know it wasn't your imagination. A soft, slow rock forward. A quiet return backward. Your breath stutters, fogging the air again. You step back instinctively, but the doorway behind you slams shut before you can turn. The sound is sharp, final. Your pulse leaps, but another scent sweeps over you. Stronger lilac this time, warm, comforting in a way that makes absolutely no sense in a haunted attic with a self-motivated chair. You whisper, "Mary Jane," even though you don't expect an answer. But the temperature softens. The tension eases. And a faint glow begins to form near the rocking chair, soft, pale, like moonlight caught in human shape. It's not a full figure. Not yet. Just outlines, a shimmer where there should be a person, a suggestion more than a presence. But the rocking chair stops. The glow settles. And you feel emotion rather than hear sound. A mix of grief, longing, and something protective, like she's been waiting far too long to finally be noticed. Your heartbeat slows, matching the rhythm of the stillness around you. Then, gently, the glow shifts. And for the first time, you sense her turning toward you. The air thickens, not with fear, but with purpose. She wants to show you something. You're certain of it, the way you're certain gravity exists, or that your blanket is definitely not going to protect you from ghosts right now. You move toward the trunk at the foot of the bed, drawn as if her unseen hand rests lightly between your shoulder blades. Dust floats away in lazy spirals as you lift the lid. Inside, folded with impossible neatness, despite decades of neglect, lies a dress. A simple one. Cream-colored. Old-fashioned. And beneath it, a ribbon. Torn. Frayed at the edges. Snapped in a way that does not suggest age, but violence. The glow brightens behind you. Your breath slows. Understanding slides over you like a shadow. This isn't just a story. This isn't just a haunting. This is the beginning of why she came back. Why she couldn't rest. Why her presence lingers like perfume in an abandoned corridor. You lower the ribbon gently back into the trunk, and when you lift your head, she's standing fully formed. Not transparent. Not terrifying. Just there. Alive in outline, shimmering with grief and determination. Her eyes, if you can call them eyes, lock onto yours with soft intensity. And though she doesn't speak aloud, the words settle into your mind as clear as breath on glass. You see now. The room trembles gently, the walls sighing like they're releasing years of secrets. And you realize this story has only just begun opening its doors to you. Mary Jane Heaster sits across from you, rocking gently in her chair, the firelight casting warm, wavering patterns across her lined face. Her hands clutch the shawl tighter around her shoulders, and for a moment her eyes look beyond you, towards something you cannot see. Zona. She's speaking to her daughter, but her voice is soft, trembling, almost like she's afraid her words will vanish before they can reach the truth. She came to me that night, Mary Jane whispers, crying, trying to tell me things that no mother should have to imagine, things that nobody would believe unless they saw them themselves. The room grows colder, subtly, like the shadows are listening along with you. Zona's presence brushes at your shoulder again, urging you to lean closer, to absorb every word, every pause, every tremor of fear and love interwoven in her mother's recounting. She told me he wasn't who everyone thought he was, that he, Mary Jane pauses, swallowing hard, that she said he meant her harm. The words hang in the firelit space. Your breath fogs in the sudden cold, a little thicker than before, and you feel the weight of decades pressing down like invisible hands on your shoulders. Zona coils behind you, almost impatient now, waiting for you to understand that the story is not merely memory, it is evidence. You notice small details in the room you didn't see before. The faint scratch marks on the floor where Mary Jane's chair has dragged over the years. A chipped corner of the table that looks like it's survived more than one hurried shove. And the faint scent of lilac lingering in the corners, as though her daughter's presence has been woven into the very walls. Mary Jane leans forward, voice lowering. She told me things no one would believe. Not the neighbors, not the town, not the law. She told me who did it and how. And she made me promise that I would make the truth known. You swallow. The room seems to tilt slightly, the shadows deepening around the corners, carrying the weight of secrets that have resisted light for too long. Zona's glow intensifies ever so slightly, coiling around your shoulder as if to emphasize the urgency, the importance of what you're hearing. And I promised her, Mary Jane continues, rocking slightly in rhythm with the firelight. I promised that I would see justice done, even if it had to come through her voice from beyond the grave. The wind outside sighs against the window, brushing snow against the frame. The sound is quiet, subtle, yet it carries a presence, a murmur that seems to echo the words you just heard. The room feels alive, infused with decades of grief and resolve, as if the walls themselves are leaning in, ready to record the truth finally told. Zona stirs behind you, almost impatient now, a faint swirl of light tracing the line of your shoulder. Her energy presses lightly, urging you not to move, not to blink, not to let the moments slip through your fingers. This is the core of her story, the reason she came back. And as Mary Jane continues, the final details begin to emerge. The careful plotting, the hidden movements, the lies whispered in plain sight, and the moment that tore her life away. You are not just listening. You are standing at the edge of a revelation centuries deep. Mary Jane leans back slightly in her chair, the rocking motion steadying her as though to brace against the flood of memories she's dredging up. The firelight dances across her face, highlighting the subtle tremor of age and the sharper tremor of memory. You notice her lips quiver as she exhales, like she's holding back more than just words. She is holding back decades of pain, of anger, of the knowledge that her daughter's life was stolen by someone they all trusted. She said he would act nice, so nice that no one would ever suspect, Mary Jane murmurs. Her eyes flicker toward the window as though expecting to see him outside, lurking in some shadow of time that shouldn't exist. But she could see through him. Zona, she could see it in his eyes. The way he moved, the way he touched things, the way he smiled when he thought no one was watching. She said it was all a lie. You shiver despite the fire. The chill isn't just cold, it's the weight of understanding. Zona brushes lightly along your forearm, guiding your awareness as her mother's voice recounts every detail she could piece together from whispers and hints. Every pause, every hesitation is a story in itself. She told me the night before, Mary Jane continues, voice dropping to a near whisper. She told me he would come to her room. She was scared, yes, but not silent. She wanted me to know, to remember. And then he did what he did. Your heart clenches as the room seems to contract slightly, pressing closer around you. The rocking chair behind you creaks ever so softly, not threateningly, but insistently, like it wants to remind you that Zona is here, watching, guiding, waiting for justice, even if only through memory. She made me promise, Mary Jane says again, more firmly this time, that I would tell, that I would not let him hide behind smiles and whispers. She wasn't done, not even when she left. You feel the air shift again, cooler now, carrying that faint lilac scent like a marker in time, a signature that Zona exists, and that her mother's words are the conduit through which she continues to speak. The fire snaps, a sudden flare of warmth licking the walls. Shadows leap and dance, and for a moment you see her, a shimmer in the corner of your vision, the faint outline of a young woman with eyes full of both grief and determination. She doesn't step forward. She doesn't need to. Her presence is enough. Mary Jane continues, recounting the moments leading up to her daughter's death, the subtle warning signs, the cruel manipulations, the conversations overheard, and the lies he told with such practiced ease. Each word resonates through the small cabin, embedding itself into the walls and floorboards, echoing in your chest. Zona's energy swirls around you now, almost tangible, a presence that feels solid enough to touch. She isn't angry, not yet. She is patient, waiting for you to understand that the story isn't just about fear, it's about revelation, about seeing truth through the fog of time. Her mother's voice softens as she leans closer, whispering, "She made me promise, and I intend to keep it." The snow outside drifts silently. The wind sighs. The cabin feels like a vessel of truth, containing decades of anguish and the unwavering resolve of a mother who listened when no one else would. And you realize fully that Zona's story isn't merely a ghost story. It's a tale of justice that refuses to die. You remain seated, letting Mary Jane's words settle around you like thick, warm smoke, yet the air is cold, almost imperceptibly so, carrying Zona's lingering presence. Every so often, a faint shimmer catches your eye in the corner of the room, a subtle outline of her, barely formed, never fully there. She doesn't need to speak. Her mother's voice carries her story forward, and the house itself listens intently, absorbing every detail. "She told me about the buttons," Mary Jane murmurs, her hands resting lightly in her lap. "The ones that fell from his coat, the ones she tried to keep as proof." She pauses, eyes glistening. "I didn't understand at first, but she made me promise I would see it through." Your mind flashes back to the farmhouse, the trunk, the button you held. The memory of cold metal, the shiver running along your spine, the rocking chair that moved without reason. It all connects now. You can almost feel her presence hovering just behind your shoulder, urging you to understand the gravity of the past, the significance of every small, almost imperceptible clue Zona left behind. The night she died, Mary Jane continues, her voice trembling now, I felt it. I knew something had happened. The whole house, the whole town, it seemed, wrong. I didn't sleep for days, and then she came to me. The lilac scent swirls faintly in the cabin again, drifting from the corner where the firelight barely reaches. You breathe it in slowly, letting it anchor you in this strange intersection of memory, truth, and lingering spirit. It is both comforting and haunting, a reminder that Zona's presence isn't here to harm, but to witness, to reveal, to demand acknowledgement. She told me his words were lies. She told me to trust what I saw, not what I heard from anyone else. Mary Jane leans forward, voice steadying with determination. She wanted justice, even if only I could give it to her. The fire crackles sharply. A sudden draft brushes against your face, yet it carries no threat. It is a guiding force, a spectral push forward. Zona is near. You sense her energy coiling gently around your arm, reinforcing every word her mother speaks. She said I must write it down, Mary Jane whispers, her tone urgent now. Every detail, every conversation, every moment he thought she would remain silent. And I did. I wrote it down. I spoke it to anyone who would listen. I fought until they finally believed me, until they had no choice but to see the truth. You sit quietly, absorbing every syllable. The weight of decades of unspoken truth presses against you. Zona's presence behind you tightens slightly, affirming your understanding. This story is not about fear. It is about perseverance, about the courage of a mother who refused to let lies bury her daughter's life. The shadows in the cabin stretch toward you, leaning in as if drawn by the sheer force of revelation. And somewhere in that quiet, you realize you are no longer just a witness. You are part of this story now, carrying the truth forward into the waking world. Mary Jane sits back, her voice lowering to a hushed, resolute whisper, as if the walls themselves might carry her words beyond the night. She told me everything, she says. Every lie, every plan, every moment he thought she would never speak. And even in death, she made me promise I would not stay silent. That promise I have kept. You notice the firelight flicker across her face, highlighting the fine lines and shadows that speak of years spent fighting invisible battles. The room feels alive with memory, the soft creak of the rocking chair, the subtle hum of the wind against the cabin, the faint lilac lingering in corners, all woven into the fabric of this story that refuses to die. Zona stirs behind you, coiling lightly around your shoulders, her presence almost tangible. You sense her relief, her gratitude. For decades, she was trapped between what happened and what was believed. Now, through her mother, the story is emerging, piece by delicate piece, into the light. Mary Jane rises from her chair, her back straight despite the weight of years. They believed me eventually, she says, but it took the voice of my daughter, carried through me, to make them see. Justice, even if it came slowly, it came because she refused to stay silent. You rise as well, feeling the energy shift in the room. The warmth of the fire blends with the lingering cold of Zona's presence, creating a strange, almost peaceful tension. You know this chapter of her story is not yet over. There are still truths to uncover, places to follow. But for this moment, the weight of decades has been lifted slightly. Outside, the wind sighs, snow drifting lightly against the cabin windows. You step closer to the door, ready to continue, knowing that Zona will lead you beyond these walls into the next part of her story, into the town itself, where whispers of her life and death still linger, waiting to be understood by anyone who will listen. As you open the door, the lilac scent fades softly into the night. Zona's presence remains with you, gentle and guiding. You step into the snow, each footfall light, carrying not just your weight, but the truth of a story long denied. And in the quiet night, under the watchful glow of the moon, you understand. The Greenbrier Ghost's journey continues, not in fear, but in revelation, and you are now part of that path. The town lies ahead, bathed in the cold silver of moonlight, streets slick with ice and silent, except for the occasional whisper of wind through the bare trees. You trudge forward slowly, boots crunching against the frozen snow, the weight of what you've just witnessed pressing gently against your chest. Zona's presence follows closely, circling you like a wisp of chilled air, barely visible, but undeniably there. The houses are dark, save for the occasional flicker of lantern light or candle in a window. Everything seems ordinary at first, quiet, still, and patient, but you know better. You can feel the stories seeping from the walls, like water running through cracks, whispers of a life interrupted, secrets left unspoken. You follow a narrow lane toward the center of town, the snow underfoot glinting faintly in the moonlight. The silence is thick but not oppressive. It's expectant, as if the town itself knows you carry the truth of Zona's story and is waiting for you to deliver it. Zona presses a little closer, nudging your awareness toward the house at the far end of the street. Its windows glow warmly, the smoke from the chimney curling like a lazy finger pointing toward you. This is the house you've been drawn to, the place where her life intersected with so many others, where whispers of deceit were first sown. You pause outside the gate, the iron cold beneath your fingers. Snowflakes land softly on your coat, melting slowly. Zona's presence swirls around you in a faint spiral, urging patience. This is more than a house. It's a keeper of memories, of truths too long ignored. You step up to the door and knock. 1, 2, 3 times. A soft shuffle answers you. The door creaks open. An elderly woman stands there, shawl draped tightly over her shoulders, eyes sharp and questioning, yet there is a flicker, recognition. Mary Jane. Her gaze scans you, takes in your posture, the faint trace of chill that clings to your clothes and then softens. She steps aside, gesturing you in with a quiet, almost reverent authority. Inside, the fire casts dancing shadows across the walls, the warmth contrasting sharply with the winter night. Zona stirs faintly behind you, her presence a gentle hum at your shoulder. She is patient, watching, guiding. She is here, and so is the story. Mary Jane leads you to a chair opposite her own, gesturing for you to sit. The firelight flickers across her lined face, eyes reflecting both grief and determination. You've come to know the truth, she says quietly. Then you must listen carefully, for every detail matters. Her voice softens, and you lean in, aware that this chapter is about to reveal not just what happened to Zona, but how the town, the neighbors, and even the law became entangled in a web of deceit, manipulation, and the desperate effort of a mother determined to give her daughter the justice she deserved. The night deepens around you, the snow outside like a soft blanket over the town. And as Mary Jane begins to speak, Zona's presence coils around you, almost tangible, urging you to absorb every word, every pause, every unspoken nuance. The story unfolds. Mary Jane leans forward, elbows resting on her knees, hands clasped tightly, as if bracing herself against the weight of the memories she is about to unleash. Her voice is low, almost hypnotic, and you feel yourself drawn in, the outside world dissolving into the warmth of the fire and the cold presence of Zona swirling just behind your shoulder. She always knew something was wrong, Mary Jane begins. Zona was careful, always watching, always listening. She noticed things that didn't make sense, things that other people overlooked. Small gestures, words spoken with too much sweetness, glances that lingered too long. The room seems to tighten, shadows leaning closer as though straining to hear what Mary Jane is saying. Every word carries weight, every pause, a heartbeat frozen in time. You can almost feel Zona's tiny hands pushing against the air, urging you to pay attention, to see the subtle signs that everyone else ignored. She told me about the nights he came home late, Mary Jane continues, voice barely above a whisper. How he would smell of alcohol and lies. How he would act kindly one moment, cruel the next. Zona said she was afraid, but she refused to stay silent. She wrote what she saw, what she heard, what she felt, and she made me promise. You glance at her, sensing the intensity in those words. The promise was more than just a mother-daughter pact. It was a charge to carry the truth beyond the shadows, to confront a world that wanted to look away. Zona's presence stiffens slightly, almost impatiently, as if she is urging you to understand the urgency, the precision, and the pain in every recollection. She told me about the buttons, Mary Jane whispers, a faint tremor in her voice. The ones he left behind, torn and frayed from a struggle. Proof, she said, proof they couldn't ignore. And she made sure I knew every detail so that no one could claim ignorance when the time came. Your mind flashes back to the trunk, to the single snapped button, the chill of metal against your fingers. The memories converge, solidifying in a sharp, undeniable clarity. Zona's presence hums at your back, not forceful, but pressing, a guiding hand invisible yet unyielding. Mary Jane pauses, letting the silence hang between you. The fire crackles, snow tapping faintly against the window, the air thick with anticipation. And then the day came, she says softly, when everyone had to hear what Zona had to say, even if it was from beyond the grave. A shiver runs along your spine, not from cold, but from the weight of decades of silence, lies, and truth finally being set free. Zona brushes lightly against your arm, almost approvingly. She's finally being heard. The night stretches around the cabin like a waiting breath. You know there's more to come. And you're ready. Mary Jane's voice grows steadier now, as if recalling the events aloud has fortified her resolve. She described every detail, she says, eyes glimmering in the firelight. The way he behaved, the lies he told, the quiet moments where he thought no one was watching. She left no stone unturned, no gesture unexplained, and she made me promise I would carry the story forward. You lean closer, drawn in by the cadence of her memory. The room is alive with history, the subtle creak of the floorboards, the flicker of the fire, the soft wind pressing against the windows. Zona's presence coils around your shoulders, a spectral guide through the narrative, and the faint lilac scent wafts again, almost tangible, grounding you in this shared space between past and present. She warned me about him, Mary Jane continues, her voice lowering. She said he would act sweet, gentle, kind, so no one would suspect, but she could see through it. She could see the truth behind the mask. A shiver runs through you. You remember the house, the shadowy corners, the rocking chair, the trunk, and the button you held. Every clue fits now into a chilling mosaic. Zona's spirit hums behind you, affirming your understanding. She isn't here to terrify, she is here to reveal. She prepared me, Mary Jane whispers, leaning forward. Prepared me to speak when the world refused to listen. And I did. I wrote everything down. I told everyone who would hear. I went to the authorities. And at first they dismissed it all. They couldn't see what she saw, what I felt. But she persisted, and I persisted. Her voice became louder than the lies that tried to bury it. You feel the pulse of her story through the cabin, a rhythm of justice carried through decades. Zona stirs behind you, her light brushing softly against your arm, almost a sigh of satisfaction. She was never silent. She never stopped speaking. And now, through Mary Jane, the truth is being carried forward. The trial, Mary Jane continues, her voice tight but unwavering, was the culmination. People doubted, argued, hesitated. But the evidence, the persistence, the undeniable details she left for me, none of it could be ignored. Her story finally reached ears willing to hear. The fire pops, shadows dancing across the walls, stretching like fingers toward you. You sit in rapt attention, aware of the weight of the truth, the presence of a spirit seeking justice, and the mother who refused to let her child's story fade into silence. Zona lingers closer now, almost impatient, as if reminding you that this chapter isn't merely history. It's living memory, proof that persistence can pierce through even the most stubborn darkness. The snow outside falls silently, muffling the world, enclosing you in the intimate glow of revelation, a bridge between the past and your understanding. The fire crackles softly, and Mary Jane leans back in her chair, hands resting gently on her knees. Her gaze drifts toward the window as if peering into the decades that have passed since her daughter's death. The room feels suspended in time, each shadow holding fragments of the past, and every flicker of light seems to dance with the memory of Zona herself. She didn't leave me alone, Mary Jane murmurs, voice almost a whisper now. Even after everything, she made sure I knew the truth. She made sure I would fight for it, and fight I did. You feel the presence of her daughter behind you, a gentle pressure guiding your awareness toward the smallest details. The worn wooden floorboards, the faint scent of lilac drifting through the air, the rocking chair that seems to hold a life of its own. Zona is patient, urging you to notice, to remember, to understand the depth of what Mary Jane endured. People didn't believe at first, Mary Jane continues, voice steady but soft. They said it was imagination, hysteria. They said I was making it up. But Zona, she had a way of showing me, a way of insisting that the truth be known. Your mind drifts back to the farmhouse, to the cold pockets in the hall, the swaying dress, the single button. evidence left behind like breadcrumbs. Zona's presence strengthens behind you, her energy swirling in a comforting spiral around your shoulder. She's guiding you through this story, making sure the gravity of each moment is not lost. I remember the trial, Mary Jane whispers, her eyes shining with recollection. The room full of people who wanted to dismiss her, but I spoke every word she had given me. I told the story as she wanted, and slowly, they began to listen. They began to understand. The shadows in the cabin stretched longer, the wind outside pressing against the windows with a hushed, ghostly sigh. You can feel the story pressing forward, refusing to remain in the past, spilling into the present with every word, every detail, every memory carried by Mary Jane and her daughter's unyielding spirit. Zona coils more tightly around you, almost tangible, her presence guiding you toward the final revelations, toward the culmination of decades of silent insistence. She is waiting for the moment when the world finally recognizes the truth she could not speak aloud in life. And you realize that the town, the trial, the whispers, all of it, the story's heartbeat continues here, in this room, in this firelight, through Mary Jane, and now through you. The fire dwindles to a low, steady glow, casting long, soft shadows across the cabin walls. Mary Jane's voice, now calm but firm, carries the weight of decades of truth finally spoken. And so the verdict came, she says quietly. Not immediately, not without doubt, not without resistance. But her story, my words, the evidence she left, it could not be ignored. Justice finally was served. You sit quietly, letting the significance of her words sink in. Zona's presence swirls lightly behind your shoulder, the faint glow of her spirit pulsating in rhythm with your own heartbeat. She seems almost content. Finally, her story acknowledged, her life remembered, her mother's promise fulfilled. Mary Jane leans back in her chair, exhaling slowly, and you notice the faint trace of a smile on her lips, the first genuine one you've seen tonight. She made sure I would see it through, Mary Jane whispers. Even when it seemed impossible, she never let me forget that truth was worth every struggle, every sleepless night, every tear. She lives in that truth. The cabin is quiet now, the wind outside soft and gentle, snow drifting lazily against the windows. You notice the subtle sense of lilac and wood smoke lingering in the corners, and the air feels lighter, somehow freer. Zona's energy brushes against your cheek one last time before settling, calm and still, as though she has guided you to this moment of understanding and peace. You rise from your chair slowly, aware of the weight and the warmth that coexist in the room. Each step is deliberate, each breath a reminder of the decades of silence that have finally been broken. Mary Jane watches you with quiet approval, and you sense that this chapter, while steeped in tragedy, has reached its conclusion. As you step out into the crisp night, the snow crunching softly beneath your boots, the town lies still and quiet around you, a testament to the endurance of truth and memory. Zona's presence lingers faintly, a gentle nudge, a reminder that stories once told continue to ripple outward, touching those willing to listen. You take a final look at the cabin, at the mother and daughter whose courage refused to fade, and feel the weight of history settle softly into your mind. The night is peaceful now, the darkness less intimidating, the cold a distant whisper. The Greenbrier Ghost story has unfolded. You have witnessed it, and through listening, Through remembering, you have carried it forward. The night stretches around you like a soft, dark blanket, snow falling silently over the quiet town. You pause for a moment, letting the chill of the winter air settle gently against your skin, a reminder that you are still here, grounded in the present. Every sound seems softened now. The distant whisper of wind, the faint creak of a branch against a roof, the muted crunch of snow beneath your boots. The world feels slower, calmer, as though it is bending itself to the rhythm of your breathing. You take a deep breath, letting the crisp air fill your lungs, and with it, a sense of release. The tension that gripped you during the story melts away, leaving only a quiet, reflective awareness. The courage of a mother who refused to stay silent, the unwavering presence of a spirit demanding recognition, and the persistence of truth. All these linger, gentle but insistent, reminding you that stories are more than memories. They are threads connecting past to present, sorrow to understanding, shadow to light. Zona's presence, once insistent and guiding, has softened now, like a wisp of smoke curling into the night sky. She hovers briefly at your shoulder, a faint warmth against the cold, then drifts away, content. You feel her gratitude, almost tangible, as though the act of listening, of witnessing, has allowed her to rest more fully, if only for a moment. The town lies still, hushed under the moon's quiet glow. You walk slowly, each step deliberate, carrying with you the weight and relief of the story. The world feels larger and quieter at once, as though the night itself has exhaled. You allow your thoughts to soften, your body to relax, and your mind to drift, carried gently on the memory of courage, love, and the persistence of truth. And as your eyes grow heavy and your thoughts slow, you feel a comforting certainty. Some stories, once told, never truly end. They simply settle into the quiet, waiting to be remembered.